Welcome to the SEC Unfiltered channel. I am your head college basketball analyst, Dave Shumate, bringing you our last, final power rankings of the season, folks. You can see we're not in the normal studio. We're on the road doing some business work here, but we're still going to get you those power rankings. And here we are. And guys, as you guys know, so let's get right into it. Your power rankings, your SEC basketball power rankings are brought to you by our title sponsor, FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet, folks. Let's get right to it. Let's bring it up again. It's SEC tournament week. Again, I highly encourage you. Myself, Chris Phillips, dropped an SEC tournament preview. We went live last night. That'll be on the YouTube channel. And after you watch that YouTube video, if you like it, go like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Tell us where we can be better. This is the best SEC channel around. SEC Unfiltered, best football, men's basketball, baseball content around when following the Southeastern Conference, folks. But let's get into it. The final one of the season. Here it is, right here. Soak it in. Take it in. All her glory, the last one, folks. Just smell the roses. There it is. Get as mad as you want to be, or Dave, you're the man, dude. That is exactly right. That is exactly how I would nail it 1 through 16. So let's break it down real quick. We're not going to stay too long on the teams kind of in the bottom tier. But as you see, South Carolina stays there, 12-19, 2-16 net now at 86th. Again, from checking it this morning. It speaks for itself. Again, I don't think this is one of them. This isn't even the worst place team we've had in a year. I mean, the 0-18 Missouri team obviously was better. My eyes, the record tells me that. But Lamont Paris just got to go invest more a little bit in that roster. Bounce back year, rebuild year after a good year last year, finishing 5th in the SEC after all the tiebreakers. Phenomenal year, made the tournament. This year, not so much. Hey, you're guaranteed one more game. Can you go get another win against Arkansas starting on Wednesday? But number 15 LSU comes in at 14-17, 3-15. Their net 85th. Matt McMahon's already coming back again. Third year wasn't great. I mean, again, specifically this year, they missed some of the Jalen Reed. Again, it was usually the Cam Carter or the Sears show or Jordan Sears show. I know I'm talking in past tense, like we're wrapping up the entire regular season here. But we kind of are with some of these bottom teams here. Like LSU, South Carolina are guaranteed one more game apiece. Like I said, South Carolina with Arkansas opening up conference tournament. And then you have LSU playing Mississippi State later on that evening. So it is what it is. Both these teams have competed at times. They've had chances to get big wins against the better teams in the league. Just haven't got it done. They're not good teams, but I wouldn't say we had a horrific team where you could just roll the ball out and win this year. I mean, we've seen that with both these teams being competitive against the better teams in the league. Texas had a little bit of a rough loss on Saturday. Again, Trey Johnson totally kept in check from that perspective, but wasn't an overall great weight from the Horns. I mean, they did go get the overtime win against Mississippi State. I mean, that did get them off. That got that on. Like I've been saying, all these bubble teams in the SEC kind of doing like an Undertaker, bats on the mat, lift up out of the grave kind of thing. That's what Texas did in their overtime win against Mississippi State, but you needed to follow that up against your biggest rival at home. And every game for Texas and Rodney Terry at this point is must win. I think they got to go get. I think they got to go get. Some say one. I think two. I think two in Nashville to feel safe. To feel safe on Sunday when they're watching the selection show. I think Rodney Terry and them don't. If Rodney Terry doesn't, let's probably see you later, Rodney Terry. Unfortunately, and Texas goes back to the drawing board from that perspective. But Texas sitting there at 14 for me. I may have said it already, but 7-14, 6-12, 42nd in that. Some may argue, why are they 14? I mean, I don't know. I haven't liked this team really all year from a perspective of it. There's not a lot of flow offensively. It's the Trey Johnson show, which I get. Has a little Brandon Miller to him, but he needs some help at times. Needs some help. Just not a very deep bench. Just interesting times in Austin for that basketball program. Number 13, Oklahoma, 19-12. Porter Moser squad is 6-12. Net coming in at 46th. I mean, what are we going to say about the Sooners here, folks? I mean, Sooners kind of got off the mat as well. 2-0 last week just to give them a chance. They beat Missouri, won at Texas. They opened up SEC tournament play with Georgia. Gave themselves a chance. Folks, got to give them credit. Got to give Porter Moser them credit. They don't invest a lot in this program, so they're never going to go spend the most to get the best roster. They're going to have to outcoach people And I think poor Mosier does a pretty good job of that. I'd say pretty good job of that. Again, they're at 6 overall conference wins. I think they need 2 as well to feel safe on Sunday. One, remember, guys, there's bid stealers all around these mid-majors. Starting this week, you got the Sun Belt Tournament Championship tonight. It's not really a bid stealer league, but just letting you know there's other conference tournaments finishing up, starting up that potentially could be bid stealers with leagues that were projected to just be one bid leagues here. But Oklahoma comes in. I mean, I don't even think we can be that mad, Oklahoma being at 13, 14. If you wanted to switch them up, I mean, I know we just played. They split the season series. You could split up Texas, Oklahoma, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings. It wouldn't. There's a lot of – you could flip-flop some of these teams in different tiers. Number 12, the Arkansas Razorbacks, folks. Coming in at 19-12, 8-10 in league play, net 39. Had a big win. They needed it. They had to beat Mississippi State on Saturday. I shouldn't say they didn't have to beat Mississippi State on Saturday, but they really needed that one. They really did need that one. They got a big win. Another group that had a big week. They got the win at Vanderbilt, where Vanderbilt has been phenomenal. Memorial Magic got that win during midweek, beat Mississippi State 93-92. Cal and the boys, I think they're in. They would feel, again, I think they just need to win. I think they just need to beat South Carolina in the opening game of the SEC tournament on Wednesday at noon Central. If you win that, you're 100% in. I still think you're in, but again, the bid stealers, folks, I mean, that would be your second loss to South Carolina in about 2 weeks. And South Carolina's not a terrible team, folks, but we got to be honest with ourselves here. You're talking about a South Carolina team sitting at 86th in net. If you're trying to go get in and feel comfortable on Sunday, you don't want to go lose this team. Now, is this a team I see going deep, Arkansas, in the SEC tournament? No, it's already a shorter bench, so I don't see that happening. Coming in at number 11, the Vanderbilt Commodores, folks. Vanderbilt Commodores coming in at 20-11, 8-10, 43 in the net. Sorry, folks. Excuse me. The dog's coming in. Coming in 43 for the net rankings. Again, Vanderbilt, not the best week Mark Byington and the boys have honestly had. Lost to Arkansas at home and then went to Athens and took a loss. But again, I don't know. Maybe Vanderbilt breathed. They just took a breath. Just excel because they got 8 conference wins. So they're in the NCAA tournament. They finished 8-10. They're in semi-home game as they play the SEC tournament in Nashville, just down the street from Memorial. It doesn't matter what they do. It'll be interesting to see. I think Vanderbilt. I kind of like it, as you can probably tell. Go watch that SEC tournament video of myself and Chris Phelps. If Vanderbilt and Texas A&M play, if Vanderbilt can beat Texas, they would go play Texas A&M in technically the second round. I could see with the winner that one of those teams getting on a run because the winner gets Tennessee, and I like those matchups for both those teams. I think that Vanderbilt A&M game could be a springboard game in this SEC tournament. If Vanderbilt gets by Texas, because Texas will probably be the hungrier team coming in that because they have to have it. Vanderbilt doesn't have to have it. I think Mark Byington would be up for the coach of the year in this league if it wasn't for Bruce Pearl. I got to give it to Bruce Pearl. Even though they lost 2 straight this week, what he did in the regular season cannot be mistaken there. But the Doors come in at number 11. Number 10, Georgia. Give Mike White and the boys credit, man. Just a rough stretch in February. I mean, let's call a spade, guys. A rough stretch in February. I mean, they lost 4 straight. Mississippi State at A&M, Missouri at Auburn. Now they've won 4 straight. Beat Florida, at Texas, at South Carolina. Beat Vanderbilt in a game where, like, hey, you win, you're in. If not, they probably had to come and win a couple of games. Georgia coming in, though, sitting there at 20-11, 8-10, 30th in the net rankings. Georgia's in, folks. They got their dancing shoes on. They're just trying to protect. Are they in that 10 or 11 seed? Again, you get in that 11 seed, you may be playing in a play-in game in Dayton on Tuesday or Wednesday night. You don't want that. Mike White doesn't want that. Now, I say that every year there's a team that comes out of that Dayton game, wins, and goes on like a 2 or 3 game winning streak. I mean, you see it every year. I think you'd had Notre Dame a couple years ago. You had UCLA the year they went to the Final Four. The COVID year started off in that play-in game where they had to have a big comeback, I think, against Michigan State, if I remember right. So it kind of gets those first game jitters out. I always say you don't want to be that 6 seed playing the play-in game 11 seed because that team's already got their first game jitters out. It's just another game to them where the 6 seed's still playing. But my point being, Georgia, I think, is playing for like a play-in game type of seed. Maybe not, depending how the rest of the conferences shake up. But Georgia's definitely in. I think they're in that a 10 to 11 seed. Number 9, Chris Jans and the boys fading a little bit. Remember, I thought back in around February, they're fighting for a 3 or 4 seed in the NCAA tournament and in the SEC. But they finished 9th. They finished 10th in the league standings. Here in the final power rankings, they're 9th. The poll would actually matter. So the regular SEC standings be damned, folks. It's this power rankings, all jokes aside. Mississippi State comes in 20-11, 8-10, 20th, 28th. 34th in the net. Just wasn't a great finish. Wasn't a great finish for Chris Jans' squad there. Some things could definitely have been. You lose 2 straight against Texas and at Arkansas. You open up with LSU. And then you get Missouri potentially if you win that one in the SEC tournament. And Mississippi State's fully in, but they're sitting in that 7 to 10 range right now. It'd probably be in their best interest just to start going to play well in Nashville this week, just to start feeling better about themselves going into the tournament next week. It's kind of a weird season roller coaster up and down. Number 8, the Ole Miss Rebels coming in here. The Rebs check in at number 8, 21-10, 10-8 overall, 28 in net. For the Rebs, big win midweek, holding off Tennessee, and then you went and lost to, I think, who's playing the best basketball in the league right now, maybe in the country, but took a hard loss at Florida. That's nothing to be upset about. Coming in, winning 2 of 3. I like where Ole Miss is. I like the Mark Adams, Chris Beard tournament style experience. They had a lot of guys that have played in this league, and I'll be interested to see how these SEC teams translate into the NCAA tournament from a foul perspective, depending or going back to see how the league was called all year, how physical of a league. Ole Miss is a team that'll be like that. Tennessee as well. Chris Beard and them, phenomenal year. NCAA tournament, not even thinking about it, not even blinking. That's a compliment to both Mississippi schools. Again, I know they've had their struggles, but Ole Miss and Mississippi State, Chris Beard, Chris Jans, the Chris's, just get right. Bring those programs up where they're walking into Selection Sunday, going into the SEC tournament, not worried about where they're going to be, if they're going to make the tournament, but where they're going to be seated. So it's a good day for the state of Mississippi from a basketball perspective. For Missouri, coming in number 7 for me. As you can see, Missouri dropped a little bit. They dropped a little bit for me. 21-10, 10-8 in league play. They finished net 21. A little bit. I don't know, Missouri and them, it seems like some of the mid-tier, some of the top teams kind of breathed a little bit from like a just we're here a little bit. I mean, Missouri's rolling in on 3 straight losses at Vandy, at Oklahoma, and then Kentucky, and I think in one of Kentucky's better wins of the season. So coming in 3 straight losses, I do like how the roster is built, though. It's built for a tournament run. But they do, unfortunately, today, coming in at 7 Mizzou fans. So Rambo and the boys, I know they may be upset, but 3 straight losses heading into postseason. I had to drop it. You were 5th last week. I have to drop you 2 spots. They're the biggest fallers, movers from a going down perspective in the power ratings, I should say. I know some people had some problems with the power rankings last week. Again, this is on a neutral floor who would win, folks. This is on a neutral floor who would win these games. I don't even know how else you would do it. So anybody being like, well, that's a rating. The graphics guy our graphics guy does a phenomenal job. Eric Reese puts power rankings. So I'm going to go with what he says on that. I'm just letting you know the criteria here, who I think would win. It's a full resume and who would win on a neutral floor. That's how it's going to be. I know some people had issues with it last week, but that's how it's going to be. But Dennis Gates and the boys, they got to drop. You lost 3 straight, but I still like them. Deep roster, go 9 to 10 deep, set up for a tournament run. Let's be honest, guys. Basketball is a tournament sport. Number 6, the Kentucky Wildcats. So it had probably one of their better wins of the season. Going to get the 91-83 win against Missouri on Saturday at Missouri, a tough place to play. I mean, they've beaten Kansas this year there. They've beaten Alabama there. They've only lost 1 regular season game to A&M until Kentucky beat them. Cats coming in, winning 2 straight, the dismantling of LSU last week, and then at Missouri. Good week for Kentucky overall. You got to kind of like where the Cats are from that perspective, though. I mean, they're solidly in the NCAA tournament. It's about getting healthy for Kentucky. You can't amount any more injuries. Trying to keep Lamont Butler healthy. He will be key to if the Cats can get to the second week in an NCAA tournament. You like where the Cats sit, though, at 6 right now. They're 6th in the SEC tournament as well. Number 5, the Texas A&M Aggies rolling in as well. 22-9, 11-7, net ranking 16th. Again, I think this is a sneaky team. Buzz Williams always does well in the SEC tournament. I think for the entire season, though, it's about where people had them. I think I had them a little higher, 3rd, if I remember right off the top of my head. I think 3rd is where I had Buzz and the boys. But overall, this is a team that has a style, and in tournament play, you're not going to shoot 40% from 3 every night. So you have to go create offense in other ways, and they crash the board with Pharrell Payne, Anderson Garcia, Henry Coleman, guys like that. So that's where I'm like, hey, they can advance. Go look it up. Buzz Williams always has success in the SEC tournament. I always feel like they're playing on Saturday. I feel like they're always playing on Saturday in the SEC tournament, getting to that semifinal matchup. But good week for them, beating Auburn, then going to get the win on the road at LSU. I have the Aggies sitting there. at fifth, and that's where they finished in the SEC standings. As you can see, guys, the top six here literally have the standings kind of seven, kind of how the standings shake out. Really, I mean, for the most part, I mean, it's how it kind of finished for us. So no, not too shocking there. A&M at 5, Tennessee at 4. This where people had an issue last week because they beat Alabama head to head, but the Vols 25-6, 12-6. Net 5. I mean, they lost to Ole Miss in a heartbreaker. I'm not going to hold that against them on the road. Handled South Carolina, not handled, but they were tied at half. South Carolina outscored them by 10 in the second half to pull away. For Tennessee, again, it's on a neutral floor. They beat Alabama on a buzzer beater. It would be like me putting Alabama above Auburn now for beating Auburn on a buzzer beater. I'm just not going to do that off one play on another team's home floor for Tennessee beating Alabama last Saturday. I'm not going to do that. So I'm still going to keep them both there. You know, Alabama went 1-1, Tennessee went 2-0. I just think on a neutral floor, Alabama will be favored, and I think on a neutral floor, they're the better basketball team. But Rick Barnes and them have a culture. They have a style. It's led the culture code holders or culture key holders, I should say. Jemai Meshack, Zakai Ziegler. You even saw Rick Barnes getting emotional with Zakai Ziegler leaving. I just think the offensive ceiling is going to be there for this team. Again, I think this is a second-round team. Had a phenomenal year. Again, it's if you love finishing in the top 4 of the SEC or winning the regular season, go hire Rick Barnes. That's why I don't understand the whole flack on Rick Barnes at times. In fact, I'm one of the bigger Rick Barnes supporters out here. Does he underachieve in the tournament at times? Yeah, but it's a crapshoot. Single elimination tournament. Great year for the Vols. Still trying to figure out their offensive identity. They need Jordan Gainey to keep going on. But I like the Vols. Don't love them. Number 3, Alabama. Coming in at 24-7, 13-5, net 6. Interesting week. Again, the toughest 7-game stretch of anyone in college basketball, maybe history. They went 3-4 in, went 1-1 this week, lost to Florida at home, beat Auburn on the Mark Sears runner at the end. I just think the top 3 is going to stay the same. I mean, you got to put Alabama at 3 there. Is that a springboard game where they get more comfortable since LeBaron Filan's been in the starting lineup? This team looks really good when Mark Sears is that off the ball guard. He looks really good, been playing well down the stretch. You like where this Alabama team is. Their front court played really well the other night. If they can play physical like how Clifford Amore and Grant Nelson played the other day at Auburn, that's a potential. Again, Alabama's ceiling is when Grant Nelson is playing his best. Go back and watch the NCAA tournament from last year. Florida coming in at number 2 here, who I think is probably playing the best basketball of anybody in the league, for being completely honest. Florida 27-4, 14-4 net rankings for completely healthy now. Todd Golden and them dominant week, beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa to potentially clinch a number 1 seed. We'll see. Some are saying if Alabama Florida meet on Saturday in the semis in Nashville, that could be for the last number 1 overall seed. I tend to give Florida a little bit of the nod due to the road win at Alabama, but they're as healthy as they've been. They got Micah Handel gotten back. Tyler Houck is back. Ruben Chinyulu, Alex Condon. Playing really good basketball. The guards, you can't find 3 better guards than Richard Martin and Clayton. So I think Florida is playing the best basketball right now. But again, this is a season picture, but also who would be favored, who would win on a neutral floor. Florida probably beat Auburn, I think, right now on a neutral floor. But there's got to be something to be said for what Auburn's done all year. And that's why they come in at number 1 for me here. The final rankings here, 27-4, 15-3, net 2. Again, Auburn dropped 0-2 this week at A&M, lost to Alabama, still the best conference of all time. They went through it. Give them the nod here, still at number 1. Not going to overreact after just 1 loss. So Bruce and the boys still holding down that number 1 spot. Got multiple teams, 13 teams still fighting for an NCAA tournament spot. I think South Carolina, LSU are out. Everybody else still could do some damage, I think, in the NCAA, in the SEC tournament. Obviously, we have multiple 11. I think probably about 11 teams that have clinched SEC NCAA tournament bids from that perspective, guys. But that is the last SEC basketball power rankings of the season, folks. Get mad, gripe. You may even agree. Just tell me on YouTube. But, guys, remember this this power ranking is brought to you by our proud title sponsor, FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet, folks. But I appreciate you joining me and appreciate you staying with us all year for these basketball power rankings, guys. Again, if you haven't liked, subscribe, hit that notification bell, go do it now. There's not a better SEC entity across the board. The SEC Unfiltered channel, best football, basketball, and baseball SEC content around, guys. But for your host, Dave Shumate, I hope you have a great rest of your day.